Hello, students in Valuation Concepts and Methods. For today, we are going to discuss the axioms. And the first axiom that we are going to discuss is cash is king, not profit. Why? Because in finance, no, what is the first thing that comes to our mind? It would be funds, no? And funds is actually in the form of money or cash. And if we're going to relate to accounting, when you talk about cash, it will be shown in your statement of cash flow. And if it is in finance, what will be our focus? Of course, it would be financing activities. Okay? Although there are other activities such as investing and operating, definitely you would be starting with financing activity because it will give you the S word. What is that S word? That would be supply of funds. And if the statement of cash flow is in accounting, that would be indicators of what are the activities that you were exposed to. Well, in terms of the principle that you are going to focus on in finance, do remember that since it is cash is king, not profit, your basis of decision is all about money. It's all about cash, whether it be the financing, whether it be the investing or the operating in terms of the activities. So when do we have investing activity in finance, and when do we have operating activities in finance? Investing, if you have more of supply of funds, and financing if you have a shortage of the supply of funds, and operating will be if the funds that you expect to have is just enough for your daily needs, no, in terms of supporting your business. And why cash is king, not profit? Because all your decision will be based on how much money do we have, and it would be more on liquidity. Your focus is on liquidity because if you are in accounting, what's your focus? Performance or profitability. Okay? Wala naman tayo sa accounting eh. Nandito tayo sa finance. Kaya, liquidity ang focus. Okay? So, in each of the chapter that we are going to discuss, we would be relating the actions for that particular chapter. Now, let's go to risk versus return. If it is risk versus return, in accounting, what would be risk? No, what would be risk in accounting? What would be risk? It would be cost. Okay, and what would be return? Return will be in the form of benefits. Okay, so if it is cost, then you are looking at outlay, disbursement, and if it is benefit, you are looking at receipts. Okay, because if it is about cash, then cost would be cash outlay and benefit would be cash receipts. In addition to that, what would be the adage that would apply to risks and return? No, that is the higher the risk, the higher the return. Why is that so? because the more cash outlay that you are willing to expend, you are expecting, no, you are expecting to have more benefits from that. Why did we associate risk with cost? Kasi every time that you are going to make an outlay, you are not sure that you'll be able to have the expected return. Kasi um, finance, remember, is all about the future. So you are expecting to have you're expecting to have benefits, diba? So since in valuation, your focus is on determining the value of risk. If your focus is determining, if our focus is determining the value of risk and the value of return, there are models that you are going to use in order for you to be able to know what would be risk and what would be return. Okay, with us, risk would be one that you are quite familiar of in accounting. Risk would be, you know, what is a cost of capital. Okay, that's one sample that you are quite familiar of. And then how about return? What would be the model that you know of? We can take a look at the bond, because in bond we have the so-called yield to maturity. That's a sample. Okay, later we'll talk of the different types of return that you're going to have depending on the asset that you are going to involve your investment in order for you to have to be more productive and to have more funds. Okay, so where can we associate the cost of capital and where can we associate yield to maturity if we're going to have an overall view of the concept of risk and return? Well, we say that asset is demand in finance. So, what are the types of asset that you normally have? Would be tangible, intangible, and you have physical asset, and you have rights, and this will be in the form of financial asset. Your physical asset will be in the form of properties. Diba? If it is in the form of properties, then what can we expect in terms of risk? Dito pumapasok yung inyong capital budgeting decision. Okay? Uh, that is what? That is what? Yung capital budgeting decision. That is actually investing. No, yung capital budgeting decision, it is investing. Kasi you're going to have expected cash outlay or outflow. Diba? Now, how about financial asset? Diba? Pagka ito. Kung ang physical or tangible asset is in the form of properties and in finance, that would be capital budgeting. If it is intangible asset in the form of rights, and that would be your financial asset, what are we going to talk about when we discuss cash outlay and benefit? That would be, of course, your stocks and bonds. And when you talk about bonds, ano ba ang pag bonds? Ano ang form of return? Form of return will be your yield to maturity. And what would be the form of return if it is stock? If it is stock, your form of return will be, syempre, expected return. So we would be discussing it later in your valuation in topic 4 of our text, no? So let's take a look at each one of your. Let's have a summary or a review. Why cash is king, not profit? Why cash is king, not profit? Okay. Um, Cash is king, not profit, because finance is all about funds and future funds that we would like to have. And these future funds will be a financing activity that will form part of a statement of cash flow in accounting that would supply us. And if there are more funds that we receive, we can now invest. That's why when you talk about uh, risk and return, we relate it to what are the probable assets that we can invest, no, either property or rights. And here we talk about budgeting concept, capital budgeting concept in properties. And if it is stocks and bond, that would be financial asset. We would be making use of different models for us to know expected return and the yield to maturity. Especially with stock, there are a lot of models that we can use. And what one would be your, ano yung familiar tayo pagdating sa stock na model. I think you are familiar with the so-called capital asset pricing model or CAPAM, diba? Um, so if it is the axiom, there are uh, or there are concept, principle that you can apply. Kasi sabi natin sa accounting, we evaluate our partner, or we evaluate the relationship in terms of past performance, if they are profitable and liquid. But uh, since in finance, cash is king, not profit, then your focus is on liquidity. Okay? The cash flow activities. You have to remember all of this we are going to discuss in financing, investing, and operating. It just so happened that we are going to uh, discuss first financing, and then we look into investing and operating. Pag accounting kasi, paano ang sequence niyan? Pag accounting, ang sequence niyan ay start ka ng operating, sunod ang investing, and then after that, financing. Bakit magkaiba sila ng sequence? Dahil pag accounting, dapat kaya mong suportahan yung araw-araw mong pangangailangan sa galing sa normal activities. Samantalang pag finance, ang hinahanap mo, supply of funds. So I hope that is clear, no? So we're going to discuss the next 8 actions. But we start with cash is king, not profit, and risk versus return, balancing between benefit and cost. And your adage here would be the higher the risk, the higher the return. Okay, thank you.